Hello, today we're going to present our coursework for the Global Business Environment Evolution and Dynamic. We select media industry as our industry to discuss about. My name is Andryan Herjanto, and my friend here is Alayna, Bhumik, Kittiphich, and Munzil. Okay, so in our presentation, we're going to talk about media industry overview, key player in the media industry, all the key features in the media industry, what is the challenge for media industry, the strategy, our recommendation, conclusion, and all of our reference that we use in this presentation.
Yeah, I will explain first the media industry overview. Why we choose the media industry? Because it is a vast, large, and ever-growing industry. What is media? Media is a collection of the different organizations. They have to share the production, distribution, and publication of media text in the digital and traditional way. Media industry is defined as in split into two way. One is the traditional. Traditional means that they have to identify they have to innovation before the internet. We are using of that the old era. In this example of the radio, newspaper, and television like that. In this also digital media is there to require the internet as well as the electronic device for the distribution. In this, few examples like that, the social media, podcast, online gamings. Like, let's see the today's transformation of digital media into the traditional media. In this, we have to show it as per the statistic data. In this, the 2023 is almost near but similar, but in futures, digitalization are more than the traditional in the revenue of the in worldwide. Yeah, there are in media industry there are the few main players of industry like newspaper, magazine, books, games, music, radio. But we have to see in this the graph. There's the most performance key player is the TV industry and gaming industry. Also, we have to see in this graph the traditional media industries revenue, but they have to in future they almost the same revenue from the traditional. But we have to see the TV and video and gaming industry revenue is the year by year is the growing industry. Also, this is the dynamic industries and revolution for the next futures. Next one is my colleague is said.
Okay. After we're talking about media industry for our overview, we're going to talk about their key feature of this industry. First, the key features that we mentioned is high competitiveness and capital intensive industry. We're going to talk more about high competitiveness and capital intensive industry in next presentation. But for example, in 2021, Netflix spent about 2.3 billion. It's equivalent to 8% of the company's total annual revenues for technology and development of expense. The second is they are dynamic industry. They keep changing year by year, following what the industry trends are. For example, UK government announced to switch radio analog to digital in 2032. And nowadays, only 60% of the radio listening is done digitally. And the third one is how government-owned and private-owned. Private and government operate in different sectors at media industry based on their purpose. We're going to talk more about this key feature of media industry. Next.
All right, so the key feature, private and state, as my friend said, private and state focus on different factors. While private, they operate in various from information and entertainment, and state mostly is focused on giving information to the population. For how government affect the industry, regarding media industry, government is the one who first start in media industry, mostly in newspaper, where you can see the image is the room where they start using media to give information to their citizen. But right now, government also operate in media, but mostly information. But they also have different purpose, where they either only there to give information, whether this media is acceptable in their country or not. And for the key feature, in order to enter the media industry, people need to consider two things: the technology, which is printer or server, whatever the media is, physical or digital, and also the people who require to operate the media industry, such as cameraman, editor, writer, which make media industry is a capital intensive. For the competitiveness in media, besides regarding technology such as digital and traditional, physical, traditional, and new one, all media, as you can see in this image, in the evolution of media, all media, both physical and media, people still use it until now. And the user segment and the penetration rate will keep increasing, which conclude that in media industry, there are a lot of people that have different preference, whether they prefer using physical or digital, which make it's competitive, is really competitive in media industry.
Okay. For quality content versus cost, is about financial investment in media industry for high return on future profit based on the quality of the work. And for the main challenge, is the demand for high quality content increasing to higher content production cost and higher operating expense. For example, Disney recently closed its studio in Canada to refocus operation under one roof. And to produce high quality in media, studio must invest in high cost. For example, produce blockbuster movie is different to mini content, write a series. For Marvel Studio, they ever pause the processing because of a pandemic. Make a headquarter company Disney wrote financial for in the business. After that, the company reduced costs for release new movie and series too many. We opposed to quality first, low production, second, and effective story. Even company restore the quality of movies to raw, especially CGI, because company should increase share data after pandemic. That's why high cost is important in any media.
The second challenge that we mentioned and we discussed morely about is about how dynamic media industries. Media industries keep changing. They need to follow the trend where one of the trend is converting from traditional one into digital. But in order to compete in high competitiveness industry, they need to know the current and their future customer. We did mention about how they segmentate media industry to focus in the market based on the region and based on the age. First of all, for example, on region base, people in Latin America tend to use online press rather than physical. And the second one, in the US, 45% people say family or friend influence people in preference to use printed newspaper rather than use a digital one. Moving forward, if we were looking at the age segmentation for the convert traditional into digital, Gen Z are mainly commonly used for people in 16 until 24 years old, tend to use YouTube and Facebook to get inspiration and to get update news in their world. And for baby boomers, 55 until 64, they are tend to watch entertainment on their television rather than do in online TV. As we can see in the data, they use 2 hours and in linear TV rather than only 1 hour spent in online TV. Moreover, even in PwC report said that aging and declining population in Japan have a negative impact to media growth. So they need to see how the age sector in that country is performing.
And then the third challenge is about adapt to the trend. Like it said there, the topic of dynamic capabilities has received a lot of attention since it was originally suggested. So in here, the challenge is how the company maintaining their business and competing with other competitors. Businesses in media industry needs a huge investment, so they need to maintain their business so they will not fall and collapse. Like one of the key features that our group has been arranged and already been said by gurus. Besides having market knowledge, ideas is important to compete in media industry. For example, like Blockbuster Incorporated, they once owned over 9,000 stores video rental in the United States. But in 2010, Blockbuster filed a bankruptcy with almost $1 billion in debt because they cannot keep up with the competitors like Netflix, who created DVD by mail service. Nowadays, Blockbuster has only one store that survives. Netflix follows the technology development and fulfill the customer needs to avoid the hassle of going to the store and purchase the movies to the cashier. Customers only need to purchase once by paying the subscriptions or their membership, and then they can watch their chosen movie anywhere and anytime. Meanwhile, Blockbuster doesn't have the resources to do that, so they cannot compete with Netflix. And then I'm gonna explain about the strategies. The first one is analyze their content and digital offerings to meet the customer needs. So people are changing. That's why the customer needs are changing too. So the companies in the media industry has to analyze their content and digital offerings so it can be more personalized for the customers. And then the second strategy is redesign manpower calculation and use technology for helping content production to reduce costs. Like, for example, using an outsourcing model for the back office to flex with demand and cloud-based production. Outsourcing model for the back office to flex with demand means that the company sometimes needs to cut the cost, like operating costs and production costs. For example, the company have the flexibility to create content. Sometimes they just have to make one content in a month or 10 contents in a month. So the company can cut the cost depends on how many contents they are going to make. Meanwhile, the cloud-based production means that you don't need to work in one place with your coworkers. You can just work from home or work from cafe and have an online meeting. And then the third strategy, the strategic management literature has been consensual around the idea that the ability to modify, transform, and change a firm's resource base is a necessary dimension in order to effectively display dynamic capabilities. Therefore, the strategy to compete in this market is to create new ideas and new innovations. This is a very essential thing to do if a company wants to stay in the market. There will always be competitors that have a better ideas and a better innovations. However, if a company doesn't create any new ideas, they will fall into bankruptcy because they cannot compete with other companies. Creativity is a must in any industry, especially in media industry, because they have to follow the development of technology.
So we already talked a lot about the challenge in media industry. There are three main challenges in media industry, and we already talked about their current strategy of media industry. Moreover, now we're talking about our group recommendation for media industry. We have come up with two recommendations for this media industry. First one is know the targeted country cultures, media regulation, and media infrastructures. We're not talking about how we export or the media is going abroad, but also in their domestic market. First of all, for example, Netflix has to adapt their content to local content and a content for countries with a lower internet bandwidth. So Netflix is kind of adapt what the country needs and how the infrastructure for the media to optimize the customer's experience. The second thing is be more creative to stand out from the crowd. As my colleague already mentioned, this industry is a high competitiveness industry. Therefore, the main player of the industry, also the newcomers from the industry, need to come up with more creative idea, creative content, how they use technology, how they analyze the market to stand out from the crowd. For example, Disney launched a game from Coco's movie with a virtual reality experience. So they use a technology to come up with this market. And for conclusion for this presentation is we have three conclusions. First one is both state and private focus on different sectors. Already mentioned by Munzil about how state and private focus on their own market. The second thing is the using of digitalized media is rising in the future. However, being digitalized doesn't mean you conquer the market. So we already talking about how the traditional media is also evolving year by year. Some people also prefer to use the traditional media. Some people prefer to use the digitalized media. So they're gonna have to think about the traditional and digital one. The last conclusion from our group is media industry need to be more creative and know the customer to attract market due to this high competitiveness in this media industry. These are all the reference that we use in our presentation. And the last one, thank you for your listening.